Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all have been doing absolutely fantastic. I am happy to be back here with another video, and as you can probably tell, I'm sitting in a different spot. Usually I'm sitting in my living room because it kind of has some of the best lighting in our apartment, but today I was like, let's mix it up a little bit. So I decided to come into the bedroom where it kind of has a cute little backdrop with the light wall and the plants. You kind of can't see that one, but I was like, it kind of gives like early YouTube vibes where all the girlies were sitting on their bed with their light wall in the back, and it was just like a cute little vibe. So like, maybe we bring that back. I don't know. But today I am going to be sharing all of my 5-star reads of 2024 so far. And I'll also be sharing whether or not I still feel like they are a 5-star read. Because as soon as I finish a book, that's when I go in and I review it and I give it a rating. And sometimes that rating changes over time. Sometimes I might feel like, oh, I actually like this book a lot more than what I initially thought, so I'll rate it a little bit higher. Or sometimes I sit with it for a while and I'm like, you know, maybe it wasn't as good as I thought it was originally, since I've read some other stuff since then. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, sharing all my 5-star reads, and we'll see if I still feel like they're 5 stars. With no more introductions, let's just get into the video. Now, the first book that I gave a 5-star rating to in 2024 was The House and the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. TJ Klune is one of my favorite authors. I will read pretty much anything that he releases. This book was absolutely incredible. I think I finished it in a couple of days, and I'm a slow reader. I've said this in multiple videos before, but I'm not a fast reader. So it usually takes me like a week, maybe 2 weeks to get through a single book. And that's just how I am. But this one, I finished it in a couple of days, which is pretty fast for me. Essentially what this book is about is there's a main character, his name is Linus, and he is a caseworker for the department in charge of magical youth. So there's these orphanages that house all of these children who are magical youth, whether they have magical abilities or they are just like not human. Some examples are there's a mysterious blob in this one, there is the son of Satan, there is a gnome. So like they can kind of be whatever. They're just not seen as normal humans. So they all get housed in these orphanages. And so Linus is a caseworker and he goes to visit one of these houses because Lucy, the son of Satan, is in this house, and so he's trying to make sure that everything is up to code and everything's going well and whatnot. The writing in this book and the storytelling, it is just so good, and you're following Linus as he's coming to terms with like, you know, maybe the department in charge of magical youth isn't always correct. He starts to fall in love with the kids in this house and the person who is running the house, Arthur Parnassus, and it's just a cute little story, and I'm really excited because the sequel to this is coming out in a couple of months, and you best believe I already pre-ordered it, and I will be reading it as soon as it comes out. So I'm super excited for this. This one still does stand out of 5 stars. If you have not read it, strongly recommend you do. Also, just pick up any of his other books because TJ Klune is an amazing writer, and honestly, several of his books, they make me cry, and that's how I can give a book 5-star rating sometimes, honestly, if you're able to make me cry. So definitely recommend this and his other books. The next book that I read was Iron Flame, the sequel to Fourth Wing. I love Fourth Wing. It is one of my all-time favorite books. I recommend it to absolutely everyone. Iron Flame, however, kind of was disappointing. The first half I did not care for. I thought it was super repetitive. It was boring. I didn't like the main characters. It was just like, me. And then you get to the halfway point and things really start to pick up. I loved that part. That's when the action is happening. That's when I'm starting to fall back in love with the main characters. I gave this a 5 stars because of all of the action and everything that's happening in the second half of the book, including the way it ended. I really like. I know some people don't. I liked it. I liked the second half of this book and where it went. And so I gave it a 5 stars at the time because of that. But if I'm being so honest, I think I was just like obsessed with how this book ended, and that's why I gave it a 5 stars. But looking at it now, I think I have to bump it down to a 4 stars just because the first half of this book, this thick book, was boring and repetitive, and I didn't really care for it. So love Fourth Wing. This one was a little bit of a letdown. I have pre-ordered Onyx Storm, the third book in the series, so I have really high hopes for that, and I'm hoping that Miss Rebecca Yarros is able to give us something fantastic in the third book. But yeah, this 5-star that I thought is now 4 stars. I next have I Was Born for This by Alice Osman. Alice Osman is one of my favorite authors. Again, I will read anything that they put out. I love Heartstopper. I love, gosh, what are the other ones? This Winter, Nick and Charlie, Solitaire. I've read this one. There's a couple that I still haven't read. Radio Silence, Loveless. I can't remember if there's more. That might be most of them, if not all of them. This one I really like. It talked a lot about mental health and addiction, and, you know, there was a big narrative around fandoms, essentially, too. The main character is a major fan, a fangirl of this band called The Art. She's able to see them in person, and through twists and turns of events, she's like actually hanging out with them outside of, you know, the concert. Like, things happen and she's able to see them as people, and it just like really opens her eyes that at the end of the day, these celebrities that a lot of fandoms worship are just people. And like I said, there's members in the band who are going through their own mental health struggles, that are going through some sort of addiction. Like, it touches on a lot of things and it does it really well. And there is a little bit of a plot twist, a little bit of a turn at the end that I really liked too. So Alice Osman, great author, great works. Love this one. It's still 5 stars. This next book that I'm going to share genuinely blew me away, and it will forever be a 5-star. I listened to this on audiobook. If you've watched some of my other videos, I've talked about this before. I listened to this book through Spotify, through the audiobook, and the author narrates it herself, and she just does a fantastic job. It is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This book, it is so eye-opening on child actors, I guess, and what their families and parents will essentially put them through to make money, to be famous. I know some people can't get past the title, I'm Glad My Mom Died, but it's not coming from like it's a really weird place and a really weird situation for her to be in, because her mom did cause a lot of the problems that she had in her life, her eating disorder, you know, her kind of hatred for acting, if you will. She never really wanted to do that. She did all those things because her mom wanted her to do them, and it's what made her mom happy. And this book, it's just, I don't even know how to explain it. If you haven't read this yet, I recommend listening to the audio version, and then if you want to go back and read it, go pick up the physical book. It is genuinely just one of the best books I think that are out there. And I don't usually like memoirs or, you know, books about people's lives personally. It's just not for me. They're usually pretty boring to me, but this one, fantastic. 5 stars and forever will be. The next book that I gave a 5-star to is Live For You, Die With You by Caleb Daniel. It follows Michael, who is a human, and Gabriel, who is his guardian angel. Essentially what happens is Michael passes away through an accident when he's a teenager. He gets into heaven and they're like, hey, you didn't leave on great terms. We're gonna let you go back and redo that last year of your life. Gabriel is going to be there to help you with it so that you can like fix all this stuff that you messed up. Unfortunately, at the end of the year, you will still pass away, but you'll at least be able to leave your friends and your family in a better place than what you did this time. So it follows him going through that year with Gabriel by his side, and things happen throughout the book. It's really cute. It's got a great story, and it's really sad. Honestly, it made me cry at the end. And as I said earlier, if a book can make me cry, 5 stars, because it takes a lot to provoke emotions, especially tears, through words on a page. And if it can make me do that, hands down 5 stars. So I strongly recommend this one. If you have not read any of Caleb's work, definitely pick this one up. You won't regret it. I only have a few books left. By few, I think I mean 4, which is technically not a few. I think a few is 3. But this one is Together in a Broken World by Paul Michael Winters. I've talked about this book so much. I've made multiple posts on my Bookstagram. I think I've talked about it a couple times on my channel here. This book, so good. 5 stars. I recommend this book to everyone. It is a gay post-apocalyptic story. It follows both Aiden and Zach as they're trying to travel across the country to get this vial of this disease to a secret lab. Obviously, no post-apocalyptic book, story, movie, TV show, whatever is good without its twists and turns. And let me tell you, there is good twists and turns in this book. Every single time I was rooting for the two of these to pull through it, to still be together. There's this like push-pull between them where they're kind of like, well, I don't want to do this with you because I want to protect you, but also like I want to be with you. And I can't say a lot more about it without giving things away, but just know that this book, 5 stars, and you most definitely should read it. If you like The Last of Us, if you like The Walking Dead, it's up that alley. Definitely pick this one if you have not read it yet. Now these next two I'm gonna kind of group together because it's a part of a trilogy. I'm actually reading the 3rd book right now. Not quite sure how I feel about it, but we'll talk about that later. It is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Good Girl Bad Blood. I really liked both of these. I listened to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder through an audiobook and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just like listening to a true crime podcast. Usually when I listen to or watch TV shows or movies about like whodunit type of situations, I feel like I'm pretty good about calling out what's gonna happen, predicting who the killer was, how it played out. I feel like I'm pretty good about that. But this one genuinely left me surprised until the very end. Like, it gave enough away to where it keeps you interested in trying to figure out who did it without telling you who did it. And I think that is so good. Definitely recommend this one. I gave it a 5 stars. And then the follow-up, Good Girl Bad Blood, was just as good. It follows the same main character after the events of the 1st book. There's a whole new mystery that she has to solve in the 2nd book. I don't know that the mystery is quite as good as the 1st book, but it is still so well written and it still kept me so engaged. I think it's a great sequel follow-up to the original book. And as I said before, I'm currently on the 3rd book. We'll see how that one turns out. I'm like halfway through it, but the first 2 in this trilogy, fantastic. Definitely recommend if you have not read them yet. Now, the last book that I'm going to talk about, I read. It's been a couple months. Obviously, all of these, it's been a couple of months. Recently, I've kind of been in a reading slump. So I'm trying to get back into it with the 3rd book in this trilogy. This last book, a lot of people love. I did too because I gave it a 5 stars. It is Queen of Shadows in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Personally, the first several books in this series, I just couldn't get into. Like, I really tried. I think a couple of them I may have given a 4 stars. But I think the problem with me and Sarah J. Maas's writing is the first like 75% of the book is boring. Sorry if you feel differently, but I just feel like nothing happens in the first like 75% of the book. And then she throws so much into the last 25% that I'm like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for out of this book, out of this series. And then she goes to the next book and it like, I feel like it takes steps backwards in the storyline and it just kind of gets boring again. But this one, I loved from beginning to end. It actually kept me hooked the entire way through. I think what I'm learning now as I'm talking about all these books is if there's good plot twists, if there's good twists and turns, if it can make me cry, I'm going to love it. And so this one did a really good job of that. I was rooting for the good characters, rooting for the downfall of the bad characters. It was just well written and it's definitely my favorite in the series so far. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't continued on with the series since this. I've tried to do the tandem read. I just can't get into it right now. For some reason, when I read a thick book, it just like takes so much out of me that I'm like, it takes me so long to get back into reading after. I don't know, does that make sense? Does anybody else feel that way? Like with a thick book like this, because I get so invested in it and it takes so much time and my like brain is so in this world that when it ends, I'm just like, what? Like, it's hard for me to just go into the next book or pick up a different book that's not in the series. I don't know why, it just takes something out of me. So I tried to do the tandem read, was not even able to get past the first few chapters. So I do plan on finishing the series by the end of the year. But yeah, I loved this one and we'll see how the rest of the series goes. That is all of the books that I've given a 5 stars to, and most of them, all except for one, At Iron Flame, is still a 5 star. I'm excited to see what I read in this last half of the year. I think there might be a video coming up in the next couple weeks where I give a little preview as to what I'm going to be reading the next several months through December. We'll see. Let me know down below if you actually want to see that. I think that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched my last video, I said that we were getting so close to 500 subscribers and I really wanted to hit it. And we did. As of today when I'm filming this, we have 540, maybe a little more than that, which is crazy because I just started making videos in February and I know I'm not the most consistent uploader, but you know, I do what I can. I post what I like when I can. Sometimes life gets in the way, but thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. It truly, truly, truly means a lot. I think my biggest goal for this year is to be at 1,000 by the end of the year. So fingers crossed. Let's see if, fingers crossed, that looked weird when I did that. I don't know why. But yeah, fingers crossed that we can get there. That's my goal for the year. But thank you all so much for watching and showing your support. Make sure to subscribe for more book content, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.